All right. We're a little ahead of time, but we have almost or more than full house. That's wonderful to see. So I think we can slowly get started in order to have a little more time maybe to discussions, questions, and to listen to our wonderful students who have also agreed to come here and talk a little bit about the MMA program today. My name is Søren Askegaard. I'm a professor at the Department of Marketing and Management. I was a trained sociologist many years ago, and then I worked as a lifestyle researcher in marketing research for a number of years in Paris. At some point in time, I had to find out whether I wanted to be a lifestyle researcher in Paris, which was fun, or I wanted to become an academic in Odense. And I chose to be an academic in Odense, and I have never regretted that. Okay, so that's the first little thing to know about the MMA program. MMA is very, very dear to both to me and to us. I'm kind of I have to take responsibility. I'm kind of the mastermind behind the idea and the execution. Anything that goes wrong also comes back to me. So in that sense, that's the responsibility chair. But not much regrets, much more pleasure from this program. So I'd like to share with you today some insights about the ideas behind the need for the MMA program and the way it is built up, the way it is constituted. So feel free to ask questions. We will have, of course, time at the end of the presentation to talk more about MMA and answer your specific questions. So anthropology, of course, is a quite old, traditional academic discipline. And most of us have this picture or a picture like this in our minds when we think about anthropology. And it's fair to say that obviously there's not that much space in the world for this kind of anthropology anymore. As one of our colleagues, former professor of economic anthropology, talked about in one of his early papers entitled, "Why Do the Natives Wear Adidas?" Right? And so the title also summarizes to some extent what we are trying to do and what we are trying to accomplish, at least partially, with the MMA program. So anthropology was the study of tribal societies in various parts of the world in order to become wiser on what constitutes humanity in general, right? So we were interested in the various ways in which humans had organized themselves, their societies and their economies in different parts of the world. And we're still interested in the different ways in which humans have organized themselves, their societies and the economies in different parts of the world, except the world looks, and the markets and the economies, they look different. They can also look like this, or they can look like this, or they can look like this. This is a shopping mall if you should be in doubt, in Dubai. So there's a variety of formats through which we organize social and economic activities, and there are certain similarities, but also a lot of differences in the way the markets are organized around the world. But as the sort of introductory drawing with the little Earth, the globe in the hands of the human being indicates, all of these organizations have become relevant and salient to us. What happens politically? What happens environmentally? What happens medically? We are living in time of coronavirus, right? What happens everywhere in the world impacts our abilities to organize, exchange, travel, do business, improve, develop, etc., etc. So we are interested, of course, in these global connections that tie all of these marketplace systems together. So anthropology is also not just the grand anthropology of markets is not just the grand scheme of things, but also daily life in ordinary people's homes, sort of organization of family household incomes and consumption patterns in order to understand how does a particular consumption system impact the environment, for example, or how does it open or close for various types of products and services offered to these people. It's no secret that the notion of play is a very different one in, for example, a Chinese and Northern European context. So some of our students have been interested and done work together with LEGO in the Chinese context to find out, okay, so what constitutes the notion of the idea of play, and how can we use this type of information to be better at understanding Chinese consumers and their requests for certain types of products. Right. We're not just in the markets, but we're also in the companies, right? Because it's not like there's a watertight fence between what goes on in the companies and what goes on in the businesses. So we're also interested not just in consumer behavior, but also in business behavior. How are decisions made? How are they aligned or not so much aligned with local conditions in various marketplace types, et cetera, et cetera. Right? So it's a market and management anthropology degree. Okay, so basically MMA is not just a martial arts kind of discipline. It is also the study of markets and businesses. However, on MMA, complementary to the economic perspective that governs in most business studies programs, we apply an anthropological and cultural perspective rather than an economic perspective. So we look at the same processes, and we are also studying economic exchange and some economics, et cetera, et cetera. It's not out of the program, but we add a complementary insight because we have the conviction that markets are not just economic technicalities, but markets are constituted of people. People in the organizations, people in the state authorities, and people in the marketplace, in the households, among the consumers. So what we want to do is to take the anthropological methods and insights and put them to work in the companies and in the marketplaces. So we can prepare what we usually call globally and locally, insightful, culturally sensitive, market-oriented, critical business managers. With business managers, I should also underline that we think of businesses as organizational behavior. One-third of our master of our candidates get jobs in either the public or sector or in NGOs. So all organizations that operate on market-like conditions can benefit from the insights that we provide on the MMA program. Right? So it's not a private or a public labor market, but both. We're interested in emerging markets. I have a little cup over here from Uganda, from a fieldwork from a couple of years ago. I used the occasion for a sip of coffee. But we're also interested in other markets, right? It's not like anthropology, you have to go to some developing economy to perform your tricks. We can do it right here in Rosengård Center or in Bilka across the street from here. MMA, in other words, and this is our sort of steady payoff line, MMA is business as unusual. As unusual also indicates that we are somewhat critical to a number of ways in which business is done usually. It's not by coincidence that I carry the strategic development goals needle here, and it's also up there. Business as usual has created a number of global and local issues, and we need to resolve those, and we need to contribute with our educational programs and with our research to the solution of those. It's not done with just an extra class on corporate social responsibility, which is the usual way of trying to address this issue. Something a little more fundamental is needed, and we try in the MMA program to address this little more fundamental way of thinking global economic production and consumption systems. So one innovation expert that we interviewed about the MMA program said, yeah, this is cool. This is how you make a company innovate. Helping them to see any aspect of their business in a new way their product, their forms of management, distribution channels, consumer needs, branding. Yeah, you add a different perspective, and it's a welcome perspective. We'll get back to the employment a little bit later. So, why do we have MMA? Well, because we think that there is a call for and a need for deeper cultural global insights into market systems and their social embeddedness, how they are inscribed in cultural systems and power relations, etc., in order to navigate and get beyond this myopia of organizations that the manager was talking about. Yes, we need a fresh perspective. We need some different insights into how markets operate. So we are facing certain challenges from globalization processes of various kinds. And if we look at consumer and market culture's sort of main consequences on a global scale, we can say that consumer culture is both the hero and the villain. It's the villain of climate and environmental and sustainability issues. But it's the hero of global needs for development. A lot of people don't need less consumption, but they need more. And we need to investigate how we can solve this paradox in order to address the global markets and its unequal power relations. So these are fundamental issues. We don't claim that we have ready-made solutions for you that we can just transmit to you over 3 years of time, but we are working steadily on it, and we are sharing our reflections with the MMA students. So on a good day, my friend Eric Arnold, the guy with the "Why do the natives wear Adidas?", when he was standing here welcoming MMA students in the first couple of years, he said, "We will give you all the best that we have, and we don't expect much in return except that you go out and save the world," right? So that's what we invite you to do if you want to join, right? Very easy as that. So we give you a lot, and you just give us one little simple thing. Fair enough. Anthropology and business is the hottest thing since sliced bread. Lots of global organizations use increasingly ethnographic methods and cultural insights in their strategies. We've talked to Procter & Gamble, we've talked to a number of global organizations, Lego, as I mentioned. Large and small-scale organizations are increasingly aware of the usefulness of anthropological perspectives in organizational behavior. There are no similar programs in the world. I'm proud to say this is the one program that there is specially oriented towards market anthropology. There's a little bit of organizational and business anthropology, but it tends to be organizational culture rather than market culture. So we are unique in the world. We are the little yellow duckling. This is the city of Hans Christian Andersen, after all, right? So ducklings belong here. It's also the outcome of a very solid and strong research unit. If we didn't have the colleagues that are sitting behind these doors, just outside of here and into the Department of Marketing and Management, working in the research unit of consumption, culture, and commerce, one of the biggest and one of the strongest research units in consumer culture theory in the world, we wouldn't be able to do this. So when we got the opportunity, about 10 years ago, first students intake was 2012, to create a new bachelor's program, we created the MMA. It's the kind of bachelor's program as we had always wanted it. For years, we had been teaching Kent Merck students, Kent Nicole students, culturally oriented consumer behavior, culturally oriented marketing strategies, etc., etc., etc. But we always got them sort of fairly late. We had to reschool and retrain all these HOA students into something else once we get them on the master levels. Now we could sort of form our favorite, love children from the beginning. So you are our love children. The MMAs are love children of this research unit. We expect a lot from you. We use some theories and issues on the bachelor's program that we usually reserve for these master level classes that I was talking about. So we expect you to be able to think, but that's not enough. Because if you're just eggheads that can sit in the armchair and say, oh yeah, oh, the world is coming to an end, that's not interesting. We want you to go out and make a difference in the organizations. So you're thinkers and doers. As MMAs, you're thinkers and doers. So this is the research unit, and it's not even really today because it's in steady flux, so some have left, new have joined. It's a very cross-cultural, globally constituted. We have Americans, Australians, Slovenians, Belgians, Greek, what else? Huh? Danish. Turkish. Oh yes, we have Turkish. Yeah, Turkish. And some Russian and some Polish and, German, I forgot. Yes, oh yeah, we've got, we also have some Danish and Turkish, yes. Olive is going to entertain you with, or some of you at least, with a mini lecture in just 3/4 of an hour. So some of the technicalities. What are the requirements? Standard for social science degrees, and that is sufficient to enter the program. We have a 50-50 split between quota 1 student intake and quota 2 student intake. This is because we like students from quota 1 that are good and able and motivated. And we also like students from quota 2 that have been out and about, done something. We like international students that necessarily must apply through quota 2. So we would like to give them sort of equal opportunities, equal chances. Average for entering the program last year in quota 1 was 8. Which we thought was quite nice, quite high, for a program that has only 7 years of existence, right? So we can't compete with medicine and law and political science, right? But we think that we've done quite well in the upstart that we've had. So this, I don't expect you to learn by heart. You can also consult our little booth outside where they have copies of this. This is just to illustrate, it's a cross-disciplinary programs constituted by the yellow courses that are kind of anthropological in orientation, the green courses that are business courses with a sociological, anthropological perspective, the red courses that are more classical business and economics courses that you would find in normal business studies programs in most business schools. And then, since we think of this as a very cross-disciplinary, not just a business school, but a social science kind of education, we also have asked our friends at the political science and the law departments to come and share their perspectives with what can you contribute to understanding global market conditions. So that's the orange courses out there. Fieldwork in the 5th semester is compulsory. So we kick you all out unless you are foreign students that are coming to Denmark, because you're already in a foreign country, so we don't need to kick you out. It's also got something to do with SU, that you need to uphold a certain income on the labor market in order to have your stipend if you're an EU citizen. And we discovered early on that it was not possible to ask the employers to say, can you keep Francesco's job for 4 months while he's going to Thailand? Employers didn't buy that argument, unfortunately. We wish they would, but some foreign students still go abroad, so it's not forbidden, but they will have to sort of make do with arranging themselves in the labor market post-hoc. Also, let me point out that the fieldwork is very important. Anthropology is the discipline where going out into the field is the most important skill. Out and get dirt under the nails, as we tend to say in Danish. So we start basically preparing the fieldwork in the 3rd semester in the philosophy of science class, where we are talking to, okay, you can apply different approaches depending on what you want to study and how you want to study it. You train yourself in the methods course in the 4th semester, doing a little bit of fieldwork exercise in groups here, locally in Odense. And then you're sent out to Iceland or Vietnam or Ghana or Peru or somewhere in the 5th semester of your own choice, in the 5th semester, to actually do the fieldwork. You come home and you write your bachelor's thesis based on the data that you have collected out there. You can collect the data in collaboration with an organization or a company, but you also need to inscribe yourself in a foreign university. So it's not possible just to do the field work as an internship or in connection with a company. And we do this, we apply this rule because there are too many of you who have wonderful cousins or aunts or uncles, older brothers or sisters that work in a company in Shanghai or in Rio de Janeiro or in New York or Dublin or other nice places. And it would be cool to hang out with uncle or auntie for a semester and then, give a hand in their company organization and then, deal a little bit with how things operate in Rio de Janeiro. The real challenge you will meet at the university, right? So you can still hang out in uncle's company, but you also need to go to the university in Thailand. And that's a very different experience. Their uncle can't protect you, right, basically. So you meet the Thai culture in all its gruesome difference, which is good because, as the students always say, we come back stronger and wiser, right, from the challenges. And Abdi and Linnea will talk a little bit more about that. Okay, first semester. The semester have themes. I won't go too much into that because in the interest of time, but it's like we think of the first semester as a semester of globalization. The global theory, economic theory is in principle global. It's valid in all markets. Then we'll teach you in economic anthropology and business anthropology that maybe that's not the case, but at least a lot of people operating in the global markets apply globalized economic standard models for how these markets operate. And we will challenge and mold this insight into something that is more specific for your profile. Globalization, second semester, yeah, there's lots of globalization, but it doesn't mean that we're all alike. So we also need to understand and respect market differences through a number of courses that are investigating these market differences. Third semester, managerial skills. You want to operate in an organization or a company, there are certain minimal requirements. Otherwise, the corporations could just hire ordinary anthropologists. By and large, and this is knowledge that we've had from several of our employer advisory boards, they are always reluctant to hire standard anthropologists because they don't have business understanding. They have good competences in many ways, but they don't have business understanding. We want you to give you also that business understanding. And so managerial skills is an important element. You might ask what philosophy of science is doing in managerial skills. It's my own course, so I can tell you. What do we study in philosophy of science? We study the fundamental question, what is knowledge? And knowledge is the most important managerial tool you will ever get. Without knowledge, you can forget about all the other disciplines. And without understanding what kind of knowledge do I get in finance or in accounting or in management or etc., you're ill-equipped. So knowledge and knowing what is knowledge is important. Fourth semester now, we're really getting close to the fieldwork. So we have courses that teaches you about consumer markets or consumer behavior, and courses that teach you about business anthropology, the operation of and managerial processes from an anthropological perspective. And we train you the crucial ethnographic fieldwork methods that is at the core of a lot of is a core of the anthropological discipline. And we have our friends from law wrapping it all up in paragraphs, or at least in understanding how the law institution situates market behavior in a particular way. So we can now send you out. You join a university, either from one of our 300 plus partner institutions all over the world, or a university that you find yourself and make an agreement with, and take 2/3 of the semester as elective courses. 1/3 of the semester is doing the field work in collaboration with a supervisor here. It can be me, it can be Matthias who's up there, it can be many other people from the batch of supervisors that you saw. You come home. Oh, yeah, so first, these are some of the domains in which fieldwork is conducted. You can go to the booth and see the world map. There are titles of the different fieldworks that we had last year. And there's also a indication of where the students went. And you'll get this idea of a very broad array of possible domains of interest. So you're very much capable of forming your own area of specialization. Right? When you come out of the program, you will have an area of specialization that you have done a fundamental field work in. It can be NGO behavior, it can be developing new markets, and can be understanding consumer behavior in China, it can be understanding managerial processes in Korea. Yeah, okay, so you get an area of specialization based on your field work and your bachelor's thesis. So this is the overall map. This is where we have sent students the last 7 years. So you can see that, and I think there are actually a couple of red dots missing there. There are too few, not too many, that's for sure. So we cover the world. Right? You come up with an idea. If we don't have a partner institution, come and talk to me. Come and talk to us. We can find a solution. Right? With this, just this last year, a student approached me and said, "Can I go to Mongolia?" So we don't have much exchange with Mongolia, because they have no universities teaching anything in English. They have something in Russian, and then most of it is in Mongolian. I speak Mongolian. Okay, that helps. Use your linguistic and cultural skills in your interest also. They are important, and we value them highly. Writing up the bachelor's project and either doing more electives or an internship. That's on the request of some. It's possible on the 6th semester to do also to instead of doing the elective courses, do an internship. So what do you become? These are some titles from our alumni association. We have a very nice and active alumni association, not least thanks to Matthias, who's up there behind the camera, who's himself now a research assistant and teacher on the program, and one of the first batch of students enrolled in 2012. When we look at the distribution of where our alumni work, this is the first 2 cohorts that we send out. It hasn't changed much except Army. Army is also diplomacy, so it's a little misleading title. It's not like we are big providers of people to the Army. Army and diplomacy and so on. So applied anthropology, typically NGOs, businesses, public sector, education. So it's a versatile labor market, exactly as we wanted it. We do not want to fence you in a particular sector. We want you to have the ability to choose and to build on the MMA program the kind of labor market profile that you want. So here's a couple of some of the employers that have hired our MMA students. There are many more. This is a little list that our wonderful American professor of anthropology, Erica Coover, put together a couple of years ago. So there are more, and maybe even also more interesting employers added to the list. But it's just to provide you with an idea of the array of organizations that will make use of MMA skills. Where do they study? Most stick around, a little over half, at SDU for the master's programs. Some go to CBS, typically to do a business degree there, not because their business degrees are better than ours, but we have a number of commuting students because MMA is found nowhere else, right? So once you have completed your MMA program, you master in business administration, Odense or Copenhagen, Odense or Copenhagen. Maybe commuting is enough for now, right? Maybe I can just stay in my wonderful hometown. We all know that Copenhageners are very fond of their hometown for many good reasons. Some go to Aarhus, typically to study anthropology, like our friend Matthias. Yeah. Some go to Aalborg University, a few, but typically to study techno-anthropology, sort of the other combination with anthropology that we have here in this country. a few development studies, typically at Copenhagen or Roskilde universities. Right? Here, typically it's either a business program, one of the Cant-Merc programs. We have the Cant-Merc program in market anthropology, particularly tailored to MMAs, and we have a political science program in public policy and welfare studies that also have specific courses that build on the MMA competences. But MMAs also go to other Cant-Merc programs, and they also go to other political science programs like international security and law or cultural sociology. So again, there's a broad array of possibilities. You are not fenced in with an MMA degree, which is a paradox. You're highly specialized in a certain sense, but you're not fenced in, and we like that situation. I think that's a strength of the program in many ways. So here's the profiling of the different master programs. Anthropology and cultural studies, basically 1/4, business and marketing, 1/3, another fourth studies managerial processes, and then development, etc., etc., etc. So I will not say much more. This is you can take this address down if you're interested, because we'll load there are some examples of bachelor's projects that will give you an insight into, what do MMAs specialize in when they start to specialize, and we'll also put the presentation here there so that you can consult it at a later occasion. Right now, if there are any immediate questions, I would like to take them. Yes.
Is there any group working during the program?
Yes, lots of group working. There's both group examinations. Some of the bachelor's projects are done in groups of 2, although it's difficult a little bit because they either have to go to the same place. But we've had people doing comparative studies of university management in Czech Republic and Canada, because one went to Prague and one went to Montreal, I think. And the students sort of ended up being interested in university management system and how culture influences university management. So yeah, lots of group work. The field research exercises are done in groups before you sort of go out. And the first batch of students, we sent them out individually. And so the first field work that they did was like all alone in Reykjavik or Nairobi, that was challenging for many people, right? Now the first field work you do is in Odense together with some friends, right? So you are out interacting with the environment in a safer setting, and you feel much better when you subsequently go to France or Peru or Vietnam or wherever you end up going, right? Sri Lanka. Yes? Yeah?
So would you describe this course more economic or anthropology course?
The weight is on anthropology, but there's also economics disciplines. It's a cross-disciplinary program, right? Economics disciplines, however, are to a certain extent tailored to MMA students. Yeah, it's not. We have had bad experiences with just putting MMA students in regular business courses because it's 2 different worlds, right? Students are very different, come with very different expectations. Yeah. It doesn't mean that the MMA courses are easier. It's just that the didactic approach is different, I say. Yeah. Yes?
How much do you use math?
22 hours. I don't know. There's maths in the principle of economic behavior. There's maths in accounting. There's maths in finance. There's maths in statistics. That's basically it, right? A few students have specialized in more quantitative anthropology, sort of macro level. But so that's a possibility if you really like that. So it's not like it's forbidden, right?